Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing the new Irresistible Attraction seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which whenever we play a unit, we will steal a random unit on our opponent's side with the same amount of power. That sets up some crazy point swings, including with the deck we have here. So let's go give it a look. So today we'll be playing a Northern Realms inspired Zeal deck that is tricky to use, but the high-end potential is very good. Northern Realms has historically been the weakest faction in this event by a wide margin, but hopefully this deck can help give Northern Realms a fighting chance. Previously, the problem with Northern Realms was that it had so many cards with 4 base power, which is the most common amount of power, and therefore the easiest to steal. Northern Realms does have some engines that can gain value over time, but for the most part, those engines did not power up quickly enough to avoid getting stolen, and even if they did get powered up, it was so easy to predict how many points they were going to have on any given turn that they were still easy to steal. So the goal of this deck is to help change that dynamic by using cards like Reynard, who will immediately boost any unit that we play, hopefully getting them out of stealing range, and the Mutagenerator for the same purpose. Even the Temple of Melitele in round 1 can give us a huge boost on one of our cards, bringing that way out of stealing range. And if we can keep cards out of stealing range, then engines like King Foltest can give us amazing value, especially when combined with either the Blue Stripes Commando or the Dun Banner. Then Raffard's Vengeance is another huge engine, so if we can keep this out of stealing range, then not only will this give us extra points, but by playing extra cards per turn, that also means we have the potential to steal multiple cards from our opponents each turn, making this card even more valuable in this event. One way to make this a little bit safer to use is with our leader ability to give it Zeal, which we can also get if we have Ildiko on the board. And if we have Kimbolt on the board when we're using those order abilities, then we can summon even more stuff out from our deck, giving us even more value. Kimbolt also gives us a little bit of deck boosting, making Erland a little bit stronger, and setting up Sigi, which is another card that helps us play multiple cards per turn, potentially allowing us to steal multiple cards per turn. And then we have a bunch of little 3-power cards that we can potentially summon out with Kimbolt and or Sigi, many of which have orders that help sustain Kimbolt, and many of which have boosts to help us keep our cards out of stealing range. And lastly, we also have a couple of Lyrian Scythemans to give us some big point slams so we can steal some of our opponent's big units. So there's a look at the deck, and like I said, it is difficult to use Northern Realms in this event, so this is not easy to play, but let me show you how to do it. Let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against Northern Realms here, and we'll go first. Alright, so I do really like Temple, especially early on in round 1. That gives us the potential to get a really huge card in hand that hopefully is too big for our opponents to steal. Mutagenerator also a great round starter, so we go unitless, make it hard for our opponents to steal our cards because we don't have anything for them to steal on turn 1. We'd like to save Sigi ideally for the very end of round 3, but he is a great card. Radovid, additional charges for our leader ability, not bad either. I think let's maybe dump the Revenant. And, I mean, I'm expecting them to have a bunch of 4 base power cards that maybe get boosted up to 5s. I didn't want double Commando, though, alright? Apparently, we are not playing Commando in this round in that case. Either way, though, I think we go Temple on turn 1. And use this to... Ooh... There are some interesting options here. Henselt could give us Raffard's Vengeance, which is pretty amazing. And Demovind obviously is fantastic as well. I think I might actually prefer King Henselt, though. Then Donimir could be good. I mean, it's potentially a card that they might just end up stealing themselves. Well, could get another copy of him. Sure, we'll go for it. I don't love Donimir, or any defender for that matter, in this event specifically, because cards defending you could very easily turn to cards defending your opponent. Now, what if we stole a Blue Stripes Commando with a Blue Stripes Commando? That's pretty tempting, especially because otherwise we'd go probably Mutagenerator here. That way we're continuing to go unitless and make it so they can't steal anything. That might be what we want to start off with in round 2/3, however, since we've already started unitless here. So, you know what? Sure, we'll do it. We'll steal ya. I highly expect you to steal it back. Also, we should have clicked on that order ability first. I think it's certainly at this point, Foltest we'd like to see to boost up and create extra copies of these commandos. Okay, you'll steal one of them, sure. I absolutely expected you to do that when we did not do anything to boost them up, but I deliberately held back because I knew we'd very likely keep at least one of them. And now we can go here for, I think it'll be Foltest, although Henselt to get Raffard's Vengeance is really tempting, but we'll go Foltest here, give him a huge boost, so he'll be very hard for them to do anything about. Put back our other Commando, So now we fixed that brick. You already have your order ability ready to go. We'll do this. I mean, it's kind of tempting to... I was going to use our Crystal Skull on you so that you'd be too high for our opponent to steal, and the Veil also, so that you don't get locked. That's probably not a huge concern, although it is possible. Maybe instead we'll use Crystal Skull on you. That way, Foltest ability activates immediately, and we can get more of you summoned out. That way, even if one of these does get stolen, then we still have other ones that will take their place next to Foltest. Now, I kind of expect them to do the same thing and play their own Foltest, potentially. If they do, it's, he what, starts at 5 power? Oh, that actually is a bit of an awkward number for us, for stealing purposes, at least. No, it's Foltest Pride is also 5. We'll steal one of our commandos. They are going to continue to whittle down with their damage, which will make even what was once a very high-power Foltest become, eventually, much more stealable. Though we could do things like play Kerack Marine and boost Foltest that way, and see if we can outlast their damage with our boosting. Similar story with the Radovid's Royal Guards. Maybe we'll go Royal Guards, in fact. Don't want to go range row because then you'll get boosted. So it means we are going to get the melee row a little bit crowded. Also means that it'll be a little bit until we can use that order ability. So there was maybe a case we made for boosting up this guy and then immediately clicking on that order. Because, yeah, that's stealable. We hope you take this. Okay, good. Dodged a little bit of a bullet there. But if you get up to 6 power, suddenly it becomes stealable with Radovid, or 7 power, and we might be looking at a Lyrian Scytheman after we click on this order. Oh, we also have Dunbanner, which does steal this Royal Guards and does immediately come out of our deck at the end of our turn rather than having to click on the order ability. So that's pretty nice. In fact, I think that is probably preferable. So let's do that. We'll steal you. Might have wanted to click that first, and, well, I mean, this row is going to get very crowded. Wasn't much we could do to stop that. Alright, and at 5, they'll steal our most valuable of the commandos. Granted, we've now shifted gears over to the Dunbanners, so the timing is decent in that sense, at least. Ooh. Okay. Now, this gets interesting. They have started boosting. In fact, they used Royal Inspiration on a non-Grace card. Got you up to 9. We have 3 boosted cards in this row at the moment, which means you would be a 7. So you do not yet steal, and this row is still going to be crowded enough that even by the time we do get all the boosted stuff here, we won't be able to fit you. So that is a little bit awkward. Wish there was an easier way to steal this turn. Yes, we could with Siggy, but I really don't want to do that. We could go range row Scytheman, but I don't like that either. We might be doing this, and then boosting up maybe just Foltest again to keep him out of stealing range, because we know we're going to flood this row anyway. Okay, it's Bombardment. That's probably decent damage. Now, this is where things potentially start to get a little bit iffy. That was an extremely silly thing to do. Giving us row space in that melee row, when not only do we have Foltest, who we want to use to get more cards in this row, now we can use the Scytheman. Granted, they didn't know we have the Scytheman, but they absolutely should have known that we would benefit from giving Foltest more space. So that means the best way to do this is we need to get you up to, well, you're actually already at 7 here if we play you in the melee row. Unfortunately, it would mean that we'd run out of space for more Dunbanners, but I think we'll have to live with that for what is a pretty high-value steal. There we are. It does mean that you're the first card getting boosted anyway, so we create an extra copy of you in our deck rather than of you guys. Right, it's Winch. Suddenly they're looking like a Demovind deck here. They did, technically it's through a bug, steal 1 power card here, and they really should not be giving us additional space to do this stuff. Because although it might look like they're winning on even here, we pass, we get another Dunbanner out, we get another boost. That Dunbanner will be boosted too. I mean, they might have a Lyrian Scytheman they're planning to play in that range row. Unfortunately, nothing at 6, so Radovid does not steal. Again, Siggy does, but that's not really something we want to be playing right now. So I think we might even pass here. Even if it does run the risk of them winning round 1 if they're willing to go a card down to do so, which I imagine they will be. If anything, we just needed more space in the melee row. Which, maybe, if we're lucky, they'll give us. It's Last Wish. Okay, who knows what they're going to get from this. Very risky. It's another winch. They could be in a lot of trouble here. This is close. They have enough damage that I think they'll still be fine. They really don't get it, though. They really don't get that they should not be giving us more room in the melee row. Right, it will be enough points, but oh boy, were they playing with fire. Now, I would argue they really did not deserve that for that reason. So, they did play one more card than us to win round 1. However, they might try to push 2-0 here. If they do, then we could probably punish them a lot with Siggy, Radovid. I mean, we don't have a lot of deck boosting right now. We do have some stuff that's deck boosted in our deck, and by some, I mean precisely one card. So it's at least possible to do something with Siggy. I think we probably dump the Ballista here. Okay, Reynard and Mutagenerator are both great round starters, so if they do try to push them, we have some flexibility there. I think we dump Sergeant. And there's one of the Donamirs. Okay. Extremely greedy. And pretty disrespectful. So I think we go Reynard here. If they are able to steal at 7, which would be pretty unusual for Northern Realms, then we can still drop a Donamir to get him back. So that is still a pretty safe bet to make. And this is enough for us to out-tempo them anyway. Alright, Ballista. So now we could go Donamir purely for defender reasons. Make it so they can't hit Reynard. You have armor, you have a shield, and presumably if they had a 7 to steal Reynard, they would have used that rather than playing this Ballista. You will get a boost from Reynard. They'll hit the shield. It's a Trebuchet. I deliberately played melee row to avoid taking damage from the Trebuchet. But at this point, they could be in a lot of trouble because they are struggling to keep pace with us in what is an extremely greedy round 2 push. We could even steal that Ballista if we were to play Lyrian Scytheman here in the melee row. That's a little bit tempting. I might just, for the time being, sneak in Radovid, and we're at least getting the deploy ability. If they try to play even more, then we'll get the order ability as well. So that might discourage them from trying any more, but at this rate, they run the risk of going a card down in round 3, which it seems like everyone has somehow forgotten that that is what you are risking when you try to push 2-0. So, all right, they failed. Very disrespectful round 2, but we punished them for it. So now suddenly we have card advantage and we have last say. We have Raffard's Vengeance, which is potentially amazing for us. Would have loved to have had a Donamir to help protect that. In fact, we do still have one more Donamir, don't we? Because we got 2 from the temple earlier. So maybe we can still make that happen. We do still have several big gold cards hanging out in our deck. Ildiko is nice. That could give us Zeal on Raffard's Vengeance, which would be really useful too. As well as Siggy. Kind of like to dump Ballista. Okay, Kerack Marine, sure. Now, on one hand, it would be nice to get Raffard's Vengeance down immediately, because that way we have potentially enough time to get it off cooldown. Yes, we would just barely be able to do that, but usually you might want to go Mutagenerator turn 1, that way you're unitless, and your opponent has nothing to steal. But I think, given the time sensitivity of Raffard's Vengeance, we ought to do this. So we'll do it. We'll go melee row, because we've seen that they certainly have things that they could do to damage us in the range row. We'll use Leader Ability Charge to give it Zeal. Then I think with this, we'll play the Marine. Draw into Kimbolt. That's huge. Okay. Which potentially is reason to hold back on some of our order abilities, but I think we do still want to do this to help get the Raffard's Vengeance out of stealing range. They do have a lot of damage, so they might still have a way to weaken this down to the point where it becomes stealable, but we'll have to see. Alright, its Battering Ram does not steal anything. So now I think we might go Mutagenerator, because otherwise, I mean, it's a pretty short round already. The Mutagenerator value is not going to be great. So I think we pretty much need to do this. Otherwise, it's going to be worth nothing. So you will weaken the Raffard's Vengeance. Get it down to an 8. Very difficult for Northern Realms to steal, but maybe there's a way they can do it. I mean, they're clearly a Siege Engine deck. Okay, they do steal our 3. They have a couple of 4s. We could steal a 4 in a few ways, but I'd like to save these guys for near the end of the rounds, because these are ways to get more units on the board, and generally that's how you want to finish the rounds. So what we'd like to do is probably go Ildiko, maybe even Leader Ability on her. That way we can, she can't boost herself. It's a little bit unfortunate, because That is probably the best way to use that, otherwise we just boost Raffard's Vengeance again. She's possibly stealable. So let's play her. She does get boosted from the Mutagenerator. Maybe that's enough to get her out of stealing range. Fingers crossed. But I don't like how I mean, she is the lowest card and therefore the easiest to steal. Is she stealable on this turn? We're about to find out. Not yet, but maybe with whatever they play with Dandelion. Onsace does not steal, but they're going melee row for the Zeal, which is damage, which is not enough to remove. Which means you survive. Suddenly you're a 2. We don't have any 2 power cards in our deck. So what I'm eyeing is Kimbolt. Just how do we play Kimbolt and still get value from clicking on this Ildiko ability? So if we use a leader ability charge, gets you up to 4. Then suddenly we're getting Erland, potentially. Or actually, Kimbolt will do some deck boosting, so maybe that's the best way to make this work. I mean, we might actually get at least a little bit of value from getting Erland out here, but let's get some things onto 4 power. Like you... well, really things that have Zeal, most notably. Do this. Do this. Do this. Do that. Naturally, you get the one thing that we boosted that does not have Zeal out on the board. So this is stealable and is pretty valuable for them to steal. Granted, if they try to steal something at 4 power, which they presumably will try to do here, hopefully they end up stealing this rather than Ildiko, but hitting Ildiko down to 3 means they should try to play a 3 to steal her. We do still have leader ability charges, so we can still get Zeal on Siggy, so it's not a huge issue. Let's see what they do here. Okay, we still deliberately avoided range row, because we knew they were going to likely have a trebuchet. Yeah, they will steal our Ballista. Then this will steal a 3. We hope it's Roach, but it might end up being Ildiko. Again, not the absolute end of the world, but it'd be nice if we kept Ildiko. Granted, we don't. Okay, so now Scytheman is probably what we're looking to use here. And with that, we get a 6 if we play you here, which does not steal, or 4, in which case we'll steal something if we play you in the range row. Granted, at that point, we run the risk of getting hit by the trebuchet, and 4 power is pretty easy for them to steal. If we go Siggy a turn early, we could get out a Scytheman. You would be boosted, and then Scytheman would be a little bit bigger if we play you range row as well, or rather if we play you melee row as well. I think we might actually do that. Do this, do this, do this. Get the defender. Ooh, that's big. That's suddenly very big. Okay. So that's why I was trying to save that, or was originally planning to save that for our final turn, but looked like we would have benefited a little bit at least from getting this stuff down. Oh, and also now we have bronze cards still for Raffard's Vengeance, so that's useful for sure. So it would take a lot for them to stop us here. We'd like to go Raffard's Vengeance, Lyrian Scytheman, use this order, which should get us some, some value on Kimbolts. The Regis is not bad, don't get me wrong. I mean, I am kind of tempted to take this turn just to show you what other stuff we could do. So it is pretty nice, but we will do what they did not. We will be respectful and pass because we've already won with a card to spare. All right, so going up against Nilfgaard here, and they'll go first. All right, so they're Nilfgaard, so we know 100% what they're trying to do. Their win condition is all based on stealing our cards by creating copies of our cards. So what we need to do is make it so that on the same turn that we play something, it is immediately getting boosted. So that way, even if they create a copy of it, they still won't be able to steal our cards. So that's where Mutagenerator comes up big for us, and I think Ballista we can dump. The Revenants, let's get rid of those. And do we have 2 commandos now, or just 1? Because that could work well with Foltest if we can get them on the board safely, which is not a given. Okay, Artfee and Tortoise, good to know they have that card. It is a somewhat common tech card to steal 7 power units. But I think what we'll want to do here is start off with the Mutagenerator. That way we're going unitless on turn 1. Which means there's nothing for them to steal. And this is a great way in general to make it more difficult for our opponents to steal our cards, because it will give us a way to change the power of our cards on the same turn that we play them. Damien at 6. Well, that's an amazing card. One that we would love to steal. We need to be careful, though, because if we get greedy and try to play their game of stealing cards every turn, they will win. But since we have Mutagenerator on the board, maybe we can still pull this off. Let's go melee row so that we boost Kimbolt. Get him up to 7. Granted, we know they do potentially have more 7s in their deck, but let's boost you. We'll boost you. We'll boost you. We steal Damien. He does go in the melee row. That was not guaranteed. Yeah, they do have a 6. They'll steal Damien back. You have to imagine they were ready to do that if they needed to, given how they just threw him down there. So now we have committed a pretty big card here with Kimbolt. A very big card here with Kimbolt. Fortunately, they may have stolen Damien back. He's in the range row where they can't use him, though. So now we want to use an order ability to get the value from Kimbolt, and this could actually be pretty big on this turn if we go Blue Stripes Commando. Let's go melee row. You'll be up at 5. I think it actually might have been better to go range row is going to go... We don't want the boost on this because range row leader ability would get you up to 6, and then using that ability would get us either Radovid or Ildiko out. Radovid would miss the deploy ability, which would be pretty unfortunate, but Ildiko could have been really good. At 5, you're definitely stealable. So that is a little bit risky, but we could potentially steal you back with Foltest. See what you do. Turncoat is not going to steal anything in the immediate future. And if we click on you when you are a 5, we could get Raffard's Vengeance out. That's obviously also very big. So I think we go Foltest here. It won't steal anything, but that way we have you next to the commando where we can create additional commandos. We use this. It gives us Raffard's Vengeance. We'll use a leader ability charge on Raffard's Vengeance. And with that, we'll get out, take your pick. And we'll use it. Let's use Kerack Marine as just a way to keep ourselves a little bit safer. Avoiding the steal, so you actually became the first card to get boosted there, which is a little bit unfortunate. Boost Foltest, trying to make him a little bit harder to stop. But, you know, take your pick. Whichever card you think is most likely to get stolen. Right now would be the Marine at 4 in all likelihood. That's very straightforward. 5, very stealable. If they have more tortoises, then that's probably what they're going for with Nero to get the Raffard's Vengeance on their side, or potentially Kimbolt. But there you saw just how much value we could get when we set all this stuff up. No, they're going to go for a lock on who? Foltest. Okay. Leader ability as well. Aggressive. They're not going to get much value, though. No boost, so they're just going to steal the Marine. Which we expected they were going to do. Not a huge deal, we're still in the lead. And at this point, we can still activate Kimbolt if we use Sergeant, I'm thinking, in all likelihood. Or if we're concerned about something getting stolen here. I feel like they're trying to set up stealing Kimbolt. So maybe we go melee row, Radovid's Royal Guard. We have Zeal, we boost Kimbolt there. You'll get boosted from this, but the... Also, next to Raffard's Vengeance, that works well. I'll get out. Oh, Scytheman. Okay, that's unfortunate because I was about to play the Scytheman in that row. No boost, because no deployability on that occasion. At this point, Damien's potentially stealable, but if we are going to steal him, he's going to end up in the range row. Okay, they do steal Kimbolt. At this point, I mean, yes, it's an 8-point body, so it's a pretty high base power steal. However, I think they're going to find it a little bit tricky to get value from his ability. Scytheman melee row is a 10-point steal. We have to be a little bit careful that they might have something like Rico. They don't have any 3s, so we can't steal with any of these guys. We could steal with Erland, but I don't exactly want to be playing him right now. So I think we'll just go Kerack Marine here. Boost the cards in our deck, and we'll just get one of our 4s to no longer be a 4. Where hopefully it's more difficult for them to steal. Granted, if they have another Nilfgaardian Knight, then we did just give them an opportunity to steal there, but they could have gone for this as well. But yeah, more likely they're trying to steal 4s. That's the easiest number to steal. Now, I would love for them to boost their cards, though, because we could potentially get a huge steal from Scytheman. Trying to take Raffard's Vengeance, it would seem. Maybe they have a Van Morleham Hunter or something along those lines, but even if they do steal there, we could use Revenant to steal back, or Sergeant to steal back, or we could use Sergeant to boost you and get you up to 5. So I think we just do that. Enough of these guys. I mean, granted, now we're putting a bunch of 4 power cards on the board. But do get a lot of boosts from that. Trying to transform into a 5. We had enough 5s that it was going to be pretty difficult for them to steal the main card that they wanted. I mean, we could go Lyrian Scytheman range row. Obviously, it's worth less points in terms of boosts, but it does get up to 5, at which point it steals either the Royal Guards, which is decent value, or, much better, the Raffard's Vengeance they just created, which would be pretty sweet. So that is probably worth giving a shot here. Unfortunately, we don't get it. But now we will get our Raffard's Vengeance on this turn, if we'd like. Or we just play the Kaedweni Revenat. It does thin out our deck, which does technically mean less value for Erland. So I think we actually will not click on the Raffard's Vengeance here. Obviously, it would be overkill. And just playing this is sufficient, and we might as well get the deck boosting. So play you in the range row. And that will be enough. So we'll win round 1. Alright, so we still have Erland. We drew into Sigi, which we have some deck-boosted cards at the moment, including the Royal Guard, so I could put back in. We have Temple. It did transform, and this version is probably not as useful for us, although it does make it so we can steal some of their cards a little bit more easily. But we'd probably like to see Reynard is the best card we have left for preventing them from stealing our units. So let's dump the Royal Guards. Okay. And we did play one more card than them in round 1, so we're probably looking to dry pass here. Yes, the Temple does have resilience, but I don't think that's reason enough because there's nothing for that to interact with at the moment. It's Anna Henrietta for them. That's a good throwaway because that is some carryover value, them taking our leader ability. All right, and I think we are still trying to get some more golds here. Let's dump maybe this Ballista because it might be our most highly boosted card. Reynard, that's a card we really wanted to see, so that's good, because that means immediate boost as soon as we play units, so it should be much harder for them to steal them. So that's going to be a big help. It also gives us setup for this Dun Banner. If we mulligan anything, we run the risk of getting the other Dun Banner in our hand, which would be a little bit unfortunate. Maybe Temple can mitigate that risk to a certain extent, though. Except I should have mulliganed something other than Dun Banner in that case, because that was one of our best cards, actually. Okay, Squirrel. Don't think we had anything that mattered there. So I'm thinking we'll go Erland last turn, save a leader ability charge for him, because at 4 base power, obviously he's somewhat stealable. We'd like to lead off with Reynard at 7 base power. It's difficult but not impossible for them to steal him, but he makes every subsequent card much harder for them to steal. We could use a leader ability charge on him to make him big enough that he'd be very unlikely to get stolen. However, I'd kind of like to save a leader ability charge for Sigi as well. So assuming we save 2 charges for these 2, that means no charges for you. So we're kind of just hoping that he does not get stolen here. Alright, but with Oniro, you have to imagine they'll find a way to make it happen. We know they have the Ardfiend Tortoise. That was the risk. And although it might look like we can steal him back, unfortunately, formation does not get counted when the game considers what value you're going to steal. So playing a range row, Radovid's Royal Guards would still be trying to steal a 6, not a 7. So that does not work, and that may mean that we just lost the game. But we'll see if we can still pull this off, because it's so close to working here. In fact, if Revenant stays on the board, we use its order ability, drop Reynard down to a 6, then Ballista can steal on our next turn. That does require that a lot of things work out in our favor. But I think we have to give it a shot. Oh, goodness. Well, we could steal either of these back with you. Well, I mean, we can steal the Mage Torturer, I suppose. But our plan for getting Reynard back is no longer looking all that viable. So I think we go here, and again, range row, we'll steal a 6, not a 7, even though we get boosted to 7. Might we find a way with creative Temple usage? I'm not sure. Okay, they're presumably going to try to steal at 5, which we might be able to steal back. Rothans, alright. Lazy Duchess's Informant plays. Can't say I'm surprised. Okay, we'll get bailed out. They're trying to get everything big enough that it's too difficult for us to steal. So I think it's probably still gonna have to be Ballista here. And use that to drop one of their engines down to 5. Let's make it Brothens, because you might be a target for Duchess's informant later on. We probably should use this. Alright, they're gonna lock. I think we do use Temple here. Let's boost. Then we'll go Temple, and we might even use it on you. So then we can force them to put Reynard back, which is a case to be made for having done that earlier, to prevent them from getting so many boosts. Alright, Terra Nova. High value card. They use it to get Kimbolt, which fortunately does not steal, but the point slam alone is significant. And now I think we're gonna have to go Siggy, and with Siggy, ooh, well, might it actually be better to do Erland? We run the risk, he'll have immunity. Oh, we can't use lead ability on him because he has immunity. I should have realized that earlier. So yes, we do need to play him on this turn. We'll steal one of their 4s, which means even if they play a 4 power card, they aren't guaranteed to get him, but he'll give us some deck boosting with which we can use Siggy, use lead ability on him, play a Ballista, steal a 7 power card, or maybe we can get an 8. Yeah, actually it would be 8. It might be possible. It might just be possible. We shall see. I'm gonna wait to play this on our very last turn, I think. It would take a minor miracle, but we'll see if we can make it happen. It's Heatwave. I don't even remember what it was they got rid of. But now it's Siggy, which will steal. Should use that before we click on Erland. Use this. So we can use Zeal on Siggy. Let's do this. Which, right, it is a 4. Which, they don't have any 4s left, unfortunately, so we should put you melee rare where we can at least use your order ability. Do this. Play you, we're looking for, if we could get an 8, that'd be perfect. We do have an 8, let's do that, just don't hit the 8. Oh. Actually hit this 8. Steal that 8. Click on this. Maybe steal something else, doesn't matter, because we've actually won. Technically, it would have been better to put the Zeal and Ballista, but doesn't matter. Ridiculous comeback achieved. So there's a look at a Northern Realms deck for the new Irresistible Attraction seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions we should experiment with next. And take a look at our Irresistible Attraction playlist to see previous decks that we've used in this event as well. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.